little bit of structure. So I kind of titled this talk "The Stops Along My Way Home." So that's kind of the theme of everything that I will talk about today. So again, I'm Cameron, and I'm going to kind of start at the beginning. Um, I was born into a military family. My dad was in the army. He did what 20? I think he did his 20 years. So when I was coming up, we lived in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, which was the first stop. Um, and I had an unusual kind of military experience. I was able to go to school from kindergarten to college in the same place. Most military kids don't get to say that, but I got to do that. But the only thing that made that weird and really made that place not feel like a home was that everybody else again was in the military. So people came and went. You would have friends for a couple years, and then they would be gone to the next stop for their family. So again, I grew up in this place that was supposed to be my home, and it was really a stopping point for a lot of people, and ultimately for me. Um, Going from that, I went into college kind of searching for again a place to call home. Like I was looking for a group of people. I was looking for something to kind of grasp onto to really feel like I was at home. I was going to school for engineering. I did aerospace and mechanical engineering, and it took me 6 long years to graduate from that college. While I was there, it was really an interesting situation because I went to high school in a military town, so it was very diverse. So there's so many different types of people, and it was very like refreshing because people were coming in and out. But when I went to college, I was really, I think there was a 6% Black population there. So I was really felt like an outsider. I would go to classes and be the only Black person in my class. I would go to events, and you would want to join organizations, and it'd be like, well, it's really hard to try to put yourself out there to a group of people that you don't really have an understanding of how they'll react to you. So I spent a lot of time with the other Black students on campus, and ultimately ended up joining a Black fraternity that we had on campus called Alpha Phi Alpha. So in that, I kind of found a little niche, found a little group, but again, this was going to be a passing point. This wasn't going to be able to be forever. So I found a little bit of a home, um, and really enjoyed being there and really enjoyed getting to spend the time. It's actually really interesting because around, it was like 2014 is when I found design. Someone gave me an unlocked copy of Photoshop, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? Because I've always been into art. So someone gave me Photoshop, and I was playing around doing a bunch of like YouTube tutorials. And I was like, this is it. This is my paintbrush. Like, I love doing this. So I ran to basically every organization on campus and was like, let me make flyers for you. Because when you're in college, events are all the time. So I really just started to make flyers for everybody. I was like, oh, this is great. I made flyers for my fraternity. Any flyer that needed to be made, I was kind of the guy to do that. So that was just really, I felt like design was it. So I have kind of a battle already. It's like design or engineering. And so I was like, well, engineering is what you went to school for, and you're supposed to go and make a bunch of money, and it's supposed to give you this comfortable life. So I was like, okay, we're going to put our focus on engineering. So I did my 6 years. I graduate from college, and I go to my first engineering job. And you know how that is, that first job, you're just like, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. This is going to be everything I dreamed of. This is going to be so exciting. So I moved from Rolla, Missouri, which was where my college was, to South Bend, Indiana. And I was like, okay, this is different. This is okay. So I show up for my first day at work, and our managers are like, I don't know what you guys signed up for, but this job is not going to be that. This is going to be something different. And you're like, I moved my life for this. Like I left what was like supposed to be like a little comfortable. And well, I'm supposed to be finding something that's comfortable, and I'm being thrown in this like turmoil already, something that wasn't really supposed to be what I signed up for. So I was like, well, it's engineering. Let's see what type of, it's all supposed to be the same, right? So I get going in that job, figure out I'm just going to be we were brought on to write work instructions because that engineering plant was supposed to be going through contract negotiations with their union. So I'm like, ugh, work instructions, cool. 6 years of college, learn aerodynamics to do work instructions. So I'm there writing work instructions. They're like, this job's only going to be a year. You got to find your own way after that. And I'm like, let down again. Like it's just blow after blow of things you never expected. So I find a job there and I stay for like another 2 years. And of course, the jobs just aren't exactly what they're writing as the description. They're just, I need you to be a placeholder. I would go to work and sit there for what I have like an hour and a half worth of work, and then sit there for the rest of the day and be like, this is great. So I just didn't understand how engineering or this job I was supposed to be doing as a career for the rest of my life was this. It really didn't make any sense. I was like, this is confusing. So I hated the weather in Indiana. That place will snow for like 36 hours. And you're like, you clean your car off, you go outside, it's buried again. I'm like, I don't like this place. So I started applying for jobs, and this was like 2018. I started applying for jobs, and I'm like, okay, let's see what comes up. I get Lansing, Michigan, more snow, so that was a no. I get Minneapolis, Minnesota, nah, and then I get Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm like, okay, I think we're going to Phoenix because we got to get out of this. So I end up packing me and my wife up, and we drive down to Phoenix, which was, I think it was 26-hour drive from Indiana on down. So we moved down to Phoenix, and I again start my job here with this engineering company. And when I signed on, the description was something different than what I ended up doing the first day. And I start, and I'm like, I do not like this. Again, hour and a half of work, and I had to be there for 8 hours. And it's just such a grind on you when you're spending, this is supposed to be your career, and you're spending so much time just idle. And I'd be like, you got any work for me? Well, we're waiting for things to come through. And it's just like, okay. So I sat there. I would talk to my parents about it, and they're from a different generation. And they'd be like, well, just be happy you have a full-time job. Just be happy you have a full-time job. And I understood that, and I tried to be okay with that. I came to this test in my head. I was like, okay, so they are not giving me anything to do. I am not doing the thing I want to do. So let's sit around for a year and see if they even notice. So I decided to do the bare minimum, be in meetings, be gung ho in meetings, but not do any work. I was like, let's see if they'll fire me. Let's see what happens. I sat around for a year. Nothing happened. I get to my the little review at the end of the year, and I'm like, okay, manager, tell me how I did. And he was like, you did great this year. You did such a great job. And I was like, there's the illusion fell at that point. Like that's when it was ruined for me. And I kind of was like, this isn't what I want to do. Comfortability or not, I can't sit here and be okay with people who are okay with me not really putting any effort in. So I of course, because there was no, I was like, okay, I'll write me a 5-year plan. So we'll have a 5-year plan on how we'll get out of this. And then of course, coronavirus comes around, and this was like March, and then they put us all at home, and I was like, I'm at home, like I get to work from home. This is great. Like I had just got done reading The 4-Hour Workweek, and that book will ruin your life because you just realize that like there's other ways to do things in the world, and there's other routes that you can go. So I read that book, and then we get put at home, and I was like, well, I could start doing a little design on the side. Let's get power design going and do a little design on the side while I'm at home. They're not giving me enough work at work. So if I'm at home doing this, they'll never know. So I was able to do kind of both, kind of ramp up on power design. And of course, still not knowing what to like, how do you start your own agency? How do you do this? So that was kind of on one side. And then on the other side, I'm just barely hanging on at work. And then July comes around, and they're like, we're going to cut 10% of the staff. And I'm at home and I get a meeting on my calendar that says meeting. It just says meeting. And I'm like, this is it. Your boy's not gonna have a job. So I sit around. Of course, they do it the day before, and I have to sit for 24 hours with this thing on my calendar that just says meeting. And I'm like, okay. And so it comes the next day, and I'm sitting down with this person that I have no idea, I never worked with a day in my life at this company. And he has to fire me essentially or lay me off. And I'm like, it was really evident of how I was being treated at this place. It was really evident that like because it wasn't my manager or anybody who I even had ties to, that it was like, well, we just need to get rid of these people and let's move on. So to get laid off in the middle of a pandemic where you're just like, I'm just trying to stay healthy and take care of my family. And now you also have to worry about financials, like a financial situation. So they lay me off. They're like, we'll let you work for 2 more weeks, which was the weirdest thing. I was like, why would you let people who you're laying off work for 2 more weeks? So they let us work for 2 more weeks. I get they give us a severance package, which was just it was a week for every year you worked. So I got 5 weeks of severance pay. Luckily, I had a 401k that I had been putting into the whole time. So I cried. I cried a lot. That was a moment that kind of broke me. Like I would call my parents and just end up breaking down crying. And they're like, they would just be like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm not. Like, this is supposed to be everything. This was supposed to be my home for the next 30, 40 years, was supposed to be this thing, this career. And I, again, walked around this apartment because, again, we're locked down. So I walked around this at the beginning. This was March. So it was like, or we got laid off in July. So it was still a lot more of the lockdown to go. So I kind of walked around just sad and not really knowing what to do, where to go, who to talk to. Like, so the option was to look for other engineering jobs or to give this craft that I was creating a go at it. When it comes to design, like I said, I picked it up in like 2014. I had been doing little projects here and there. Um, I had been learning the whole time. I would work for the hour and a half, and the rest of the time I'd be on YouTube. I'd be watching The Future. I'd be watching anybody who's doing any type of design video. I would watch it in slow motion to really understand how the software worked. I was really in it. I was really trying to set myself up for a future where I'd be able to kind of do this. So when I got laid off, I was like, I can look for jobs, but I know these jobs that they're going to throw out here during a pandemic are going to be entry-level jobs again. So I'm going to be back making the same pay I made 5 years ago and have to start all over again. And so it was either do that or start power design. So the first thing I had to do was really, how do you do this? How do you start something that you've never done before? How do you start an agency? How do you I don't know. I have a bunch of questions and I can ask them. So I started kind of ruminating on those questions. And the first thing I did was, let's go find some people who are doing this. And I DM'd a lot of people on Instagram and was just like, hey, would you sit down with me for like an hour and we can just talk about design? And so the thing I learned at that moment was people were way nicer than I thought, because a lot of people sat down with me and they really walked me through like what they do and like their processes and stuff like that. And they really lent out a helping hand when I felt like I had like nothing. I was by myself, and had been for a while because my company wasn't taking care of me either. So I did that. Of course, I picking up books and books. The Future has like a book list that they have on their website. So I was like, I'm just gonna read all these books. If I learn something, then it'll make me better for when I start my own thing. So I read books, I practiced, I started making myself my own I was trying to create a portfolio for myself, so I make myself my own challenges and be like, okay, you don't really understand how this works. So how about you take a logo that already exists and you vector it out yourself and see if you can use the tools and get there. So this is, again, long, hard road of just trying to figure it out. and I got laid off July 24th. So tomorrow it'll be a year, which is kind of crazy. So I do all that, and I just realize in doing it that um, people, you create your own destiny. Like, if you don't like what's going on in your life, I was telling someone, just blow it up. You're allowed to do that. Sometimes it's hard, but you're allowed to kind of take the path that's unwalked and do your own thing and really figure out where you want to go with your life. I used to be very unhappy. Like, I would do like when I was doing my engineering job, my wife was just like, "You're a zombie. You just walk around here like no one's home." And it was just hard. Like, it was just having to deal with what you thought was supposed to be your life when it wasn't your idea. Like, when it came to engineering, my mom was like, "You're going to go be an engineer because it will give you the best bet of paying off your student loan, and you'll make a bunch of money after you're graduated." And I was like, "Cool, comfortable. I'm there." But maybe comfortable isn't really what life is about. Like, maybe life is about really understanding the things you want to do and going for them. Yes, money's a thing, and I do understand that. And I've been grateful to have the 401k to kind of lean on right now while we figure things out. But make every day a step towards doing the things you want to do and being better at the things you want to be better at. There's just a lot of learning that can be done in this world. And I feel like there's a lot of people who are just unhappy, but blame it on other people. If you're unhappy, we have the ability to do whatever we want and take that unhappiness and turn it into excitement. Fear and excitement are the same thing. They're just one you have control of, and the other one you're letting the world control it for you. So it's amazing what you can do. So as of right now, a year from being laid off, I am fully working within Power Design. I have three or four of the highest paying projects I've ever had in my life right now, and really just wanted to create a studio where we help other people create value for themselves. Because again, like I said, people are stuck, and I just want to see people be able to do the things that they love and be able to make a living for themselves. So within Power Design, we try to help people understand your business, who you are, what you want it to be, and then also bring that design to the end of it to tie that why to the visual aspects of it. So it's really about just helping. And it's crazy to be, because I do strategy meetings with my clients, and it's crazy to be in a strategy meeting and we're talking through their purpose and they're just glowing. People like just lighting up. And you're like, you're living in, you could just see it on their face, just the happiness and the wanting to grow in their purpose. So I really hope that I'm able to partner with more businesses and be able to really bring that joy to them and bring value to the valueless. People, we don't have to walk around here feeling valueless. We can do the things we want to do. We can close that gap, and we can also not let institutions take advantage of us, which is really what I had to kind of sit down and realize. Is like, I talk about this being like my journey on the way home, is because I was trying to find my value in all these other places and all these other institutions, but didn't realize that the power was already in me. Everything's here. You just have to stand in it. You have to wake up and stand in it. And no matter where you go, they're not going to give you the full value that you can give yourself. So I really want to help people kind of see that and then tell my story and really show that off. So I'm really happy to be finally, one of the guys I used to work with actually texted me last week, and he was like, "Oh, there's an opening in my group. Do you want to fill out an application?" I was like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm living in my purpose." And he was just like, so supportive. He's like, keep working, keep going. And everybody's been so supportive in just trying to allow me to do the thing that I need to do. Even my parents, they eventually came around. They were like, "You're going to do what? You're going to be homeless." Possibly. If I'm homeless, I still got y'all. Y'all are my family. So it's just one of those things where I don't even know where the end of this goes. I don't know where power goes. I don't know. I'm still every day we're trying to make a difference, trying to learn, try to connect with people, and really just trying to tell our story and try to work with some cool people. So maybe next week I am homeless. Hopefully you guys will be there to cheer me on and still keep going. But I appreciate getting to talk about this and getting to share kind of my story with everybody else, because I don't want people to feel like I felt terrible. I felt like I didn't have control over my own life when you 100% do. So that's like the end.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. That's a pretty empowering story you have there.
I know. It took a while to get there and understand that it was gonna be this, but that's why I wanted to do this, because I want to share more. I want to share with people. I want to, and especially with people who look like me. I feel like we really get trapped into trying to find value in places that don't value us. And I just like design right now is really, I think I was looking at the numbers and it's 3% Black people are doing design right now. And we have every ability to do anything anybody else can do. So I really want to share my story and let people know, hey, we can do this. You can get the lifestyle you want. You can work from home, be around your family, be around your kids, and see all them grow up and be comfortable and make a living. So you don't have to be giving your time and labor away to people who don't necessarily want that from you.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions for Kameron?
I'll kick things off with a couple of thoughts as I was listening to you tell your story, Kameron, and it's one that I'm familiar with since we've connected before, and I always love to see you light up as you talk about it. And as I was listening to you, I was thinking about home and the thought. I would be interested to hear your thoughts as well as other people's thoughts about this. Whether to find a home or build a home, and whether where should you spend your time and your energies, and where do you feel the most comfortable? And so I was thinking, I think was it Linda who was in the first breakout group, or somebody in one of the breakout groups that I was in was talking about how she had just purchased her first home after 13 months of searching, and that it's been this long process of finding that place. And you, Kameron, were talking about how you were looking for that right engineering place job to find, and then you ended up having to build it. So for you, the question, what do you think about that that process, or the difference between whether to find or build?
So I definitely feel like building's difficult, and I don't think everybody can necessarily be builders. I think there's a portion of our lives where we do have to try to find homes in places. So I kind of feel like maybe we should be doing both. We should be building things that we enjoy, building stuff on the side that we have a good time with. If that can't be our full-time job, we should be always building, but also trying to find and work with people who value us. If we have to work with people, because still with me building this out, building Power Design, I'm still going to have to work alongside people who I didn't necessarily want to seek out. They sought me out. So there's going to be a little bit of both in life. And I just feel like a lot of people take a long time searching for this one thing, when also you should be building things for yourself at the same time that you enjoy, that you can come home and kind of sit in and play the guitar and you're like, man, I'm in heaven. But that's just an hour a day you get to do by yourself. Like when I was working my engineering job, I was waking up at 4:30 in the morning just to design for an hour. And it was like, that was my home at that point. I was building my skills there. But of course I had to go somewhere else to make money. So I think it's a both. We should build, and we should definitely seek out good people, which we can find homes in good people. So.
Anyone else have thoughts on finding versus building, or maybe kind of like what you were saying, Cameron, like maybe it's also building within a place that you've found?
Have you had a certain strategy for maintaining or acquiring clients through like referrals, or have you reached out to people you've worked with in the past? What's kind of been your strategy there?
Right now, so I've worked with a lot of people who, like I said, I was in a fraternity. So I worked with a lot of my fraternity brothers, reached out. Of course, in the beginning, when you're starting anything, it's a lot of friends and family when it comes to business. So I worked with a lot of friends and family. And then around like, what was it, like December of last year, I was like, I'm going to actually have to figure out how to market. So really my marketing effort has been trying to meet people, like just meeting people and telling my story and letting people know I do this, has really been my marketing effort. It's been strategic. I have a process right now where I shoot a DM to people that I would like to meet, and we sit down for 15, 20 minutes. And I try to pull in as many people as possible to sit down and have coffee or something to talk to. Because the whole game here is saturation. People have to know you. And if people don't know you, then they don't know that you're able to, you have this skill, or you have this business that you want to share with them. So it's really just been trying to meet as many people. I've worked with, it's really funny because I told my story, I think it was through AIGA, and someone reached out to me who has, they were in charge of the creative department at APS, which is they do the service, like the utility services here in Arizona. And I've been working alongside them, and they had handed me a couple projects to work on. So I've just been trying to make partnerships with as many people as possible and meet and learn people. And like I said, people are nice. People want to help. You just have to tell them and let them know what you're here for, who you are, and people will want to help you. It's a long, tedious process. And like I said, I had a backup when it comes to money and funds and financials to be able to do that. But it takes time. It's really a saturation game.
Yeah, just the thought about building versus finding a home. I've kind of been wrestling with that quite a bit lately, and I think the thing that I'm coming to is that I'm finding as many places as I've been, as far as been employed, I'm just, there's not a place that's ever been satisfied, and so I just start to go, okay, maybe it's not the places that I'm at that aren't, structured well enough for me. Maybe it's just that I'm not made for this. And so I think there's just a certain spark in that I kind of sense when I'm like, okay, I really, and I've done plenty of side hustles, plenty of different things outside of, my full-time stuff. But now it's just kind of come to the realization, like, I want that autonomy. I love the strategy of starting from the ground and then building it up. And even the risk of it, like, we don't know if this is going to work out. I could be homeless, I could lose it all. Like, as crazy as that is, it just kind of excites me.
Yeah. Hey, and I feel if you're leaning, go ahead. Like, of course, like I said, the financial, we all have to be able to take care of our families, but make sure that every day build a step closer to that thing you want. And if that's reading a book, if that's writing out an operation process, your design process, if that's anything, that those small little things, start today. And you have the ability to kind of put whatever you want in front of yourself out there.
Great.
I think one thing that the pandemic did for me, I was already working for myself, but I was contracting with my former employer, so it was still kind of a cushion.
Yep.
And then when the pandemic hit, she'd already started to pull a bunch of work, and it was a rough few months. But what kind of slapped me in the face was she was like, "Oh, nobody's going to be doing any marketing. You know, you should probably see if you can get on with Amazon." I was so insulted that this woman that I had been a creative director for several years, and you know, and I'd learned a lot from her, and provided a lot for her, that she thought with my skills, my best shot during the pandemic was to go work at an Amazon warehouse at my age. And I was just like, no, I'm good, you know. And so the summer was kind of rough, you know, I was mixing and matching, but I did come to the realization that, thank God, with creative people, that I think we underestimate that we can do our skills
All she do
everywhere
is agree.
and anywhere. And so, you know, and I landed a couple of gigs
Word.
that have been amazing, and I've paid just as well as when I worked for her full time. So, and I'm still at home, and I still get to do what I want, and I have that freedom. And so I'm sure part of it was like, you know, when your mom tells you you can't do something, you're like, "Oh, watch me." So, but that's okay. If that was the push I needed, you know, to realize that no, I can do whatever I do wherever I am, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm thriving, and I'm not going to work at Amazon.
Which is the best part. It's just like, I'm still here. Like I was dealt a bad hand, and I still made it happen, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I definitely, yeah. And people, I had people sending me that too. You could go work for Amazon. I'm like, why would I do that? I don't want to work for Amazon. Like, so it's just weird that people have certain expectations for you. And that's what I mean, is like, people will value you in a different way than you value yourself. And it's like, how will you be able to even know that until you start valuing yourself and holding yourself at a higher standard? So people are wild. People.
Anybody else have anything they want to share or ask Cameron?
Cameron, what were your favorite books from the ones that you've read so far?
Ooh. Okay, so 4-Hour Workweek was really good. I read a book called Limitless. I think it was about your mind and your mindset. That one was really good. It's by I think his last name's Quick. That one was good. And then I read the negotiation book. I think it was Never Split the Difference. That one was also phenomenal. That one's really good too. So I was really just trying to, and another one that I've read recently was The E-Myth, which was, if some of you guys know Matt Adams, he suggested it to me. And it is the perfect explanation of how to kind of start your own business and actually build a business that's viable. So I've read so many books in this past year. Before now, I hadn't read a book in years. Like probably since I was in college was the last book I read. But I've probably read 7 or 8 books now. And if you want to see that list, you could definitely like hit me up or shoot me a DM, and I'll definitely share it with you. If you're it's really the list for people trying to start their own thing. So just let me know, and I can definitely send that over.